Change is constant, from life to art itself. Starting with cave paintings, going over the epics of the Renaissance, to today's artists doing just about anything. Nonsensical, cute, loaded with emotions, traditional. The same could be said about music, starting with just singing and body percussion, over flutes, to genres being defined in more recent years. In 1971, 55 years ago, Led Zeppelin released Stairway to Heaven. By just listening to the song, or the snippet of it, you already get a window into a time gone by, but by looking at recordings of concerts, events, and anything else that was happening around the band, you get a much bigger look at how the world was ticking just a few decades ago. Many years later, and music has still been evolving, but so have the people listening to it. In 2024, the noise rock band Prostitute, hailing from Michigan, released the album Attempted Martyr. On first listen, you'd think that there's almost zero overlap between these two bands that I just mentioned, but in order to get here, you had to come from somewhere. Video games are art. They very much reflect their times, just like any other art form. As such, looking at games like Half-Life and Moonchild gives you a pretty good insight into what video games were like back in the late 90s. One, a big production by an up-and-coming industry titan, the other an attempt at getting their foot in the door, and to get a piece of that big video game boom-shaped cake. But, going 20 years into the future, it seemed to a lot of people that this promising form of art had seemingly stagnated. Another 10 years, and players have never been this vocal about the current state of something they love so dearly. But are things really as bad as they seem? No, not really. Publishers have been a plague even back in the 90s, and they continue to be bad in the 2020s. Arguably only getting worse as a consequence of getting bigger. However, indie games are more exciting than ever, also existing back in the 90s, but having much better means of publishing their games to the wider world thanks to platforms like itch and Steam, instead of having to send cassettes to distributors who will only give them $200 in return to fuck off. Poor Moonchild, man. He really didn't deserve this.
You got the power to be his friend. It's Moonchild.
In 2011, Payday the Heist was released. Not really an indie production, not really AAA. But it spawned a huge franchise, specifically the sequel that refuses to die even to this day. To say the franchise had gone through changes would be an understatement. If you look at the Reddit now, there's people who have been playing since 2016 arguing with people who have been playing since 2019 about how the game they claim to love used to be in 2013. A bit of a tiring conversation if you ask me, but if you want to know more about that, make sure to check out some of my other videos on these games. See it as sort of kind of required reading for what I talk about. Also, make sure to subscribe to stay subscribed, and most importantly, stay up to date with future uploads. Also, while you're here, leave a like if you're enjoying the lesson so far. After Payday 2 dropped Payday 3. A game and a half, that is. To many, a perfect example of missed potential. So it was doomed to fail, and any attempt to gather an audience turned out to be a lost cause as well. Missed potential pairing quite well with one-sided collaborations, which give players zero reason to really pay attention to the other game, like adding a few cosmetics to The Division, or Rainbow Six Siege. But then this came along. Payday 3 and PUBG. If you want to talk about the gaming landscape 10 years ago, PUBG was like a nuclear bomb. From one day to another, everything changed. Battle Royales became the flavor of the decade, and still prove to be popular to this day. PUBG's Battlegrounds, as is its full legal name, now features a time-limited Payday-themed game mode, featuring 4 maps from the actual game with slightly changed up objectives that work off of 5 slightly Payday-themed loadouts, has a small in-event progression system, and offers a Payday-themed battle pass with free and paid goodies. The reception to this event from a lot of the tighter Payday community has been quite negative. A ton of people who do not play PUBG ended up installing the game, which is free by the way, specifically to enjoy some content themed after their favorite video game, only to be met with a lot of jank, mobile game UI, Korean free-to-play game cosmetics, funny wacky dances, an amalgamation of everything bad about AAA video games of the past 10 years. And if you end up playing PUBG because of you liking Payday, you'll probably end up disappointed. But I think that the way a lot of Payday content creators react to this just shows that it really wasn't targeted at them. The actual target audience for this event is people who have not played Payday before. I know that this sounds crazy, but as big as Payday was about 10 years ago, the gaming landscape has only continued growing, and if anything, has grown up from the time at which Payday left an impact. So now, me, the freshly cut flower, I find myself here ready to tell you all about this event, because I finally got to play it myself after looking at the reception from everyone around me. And it's actually quite okay. Like, it's maps you've already played in Payday 3, but it's a lot more over the top. You have both stealth and loud as options, with one of the 5 loadouts being stealth focused, while still allowing to use it in loud as well. Every heist comes with 2 difficulties, normal being the entry level difficulty, and hard being the slightly more serious one. Enemies reload unlike they do in Payday 3. You have an ultimate, like in a hero shooter, which pushes people into sticking closer to each other, giving a false sense of team play in a game that's arguably just as much of a self-centric shooter than Payday is now. Your armor regens, with little to no micromanagement going on there. Team setups are kind of a thing due to how medic bags and armor bags have been implemented in this game. Ammo bags are scattered around the map and push you into either sticking to the guy who brought the ammo bag ability, or risk rushing to one of those aforementioned pre-placed ammo bags in order to stay in the fight, because even though your pistol has unlimited ammo, it ends up being more of a backup plan than an actual weapon to fight with. And you know what? If you suspend your disbelief, it's actually kind of fun. It's free, it's silly, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It has some quirks like calling comps mercs because you're not allowed to show violence against police officers in certain regions apparently. But it also has some original lock lines specifically made for this event. It's cute, I actually don't hate it. Is it worth your time? If you've played PUBG in the past and want to feel overwhelmed, go for it. It's hilarious. If you have friends that you can do just about anything with, do it. It'll be super fucking funny. At most, it'll waste a couple of hours of your time. Playing actual Payday 3 doesn't feel like a much better investment in that regard. That being said, I think it is nice to see that the player count has gone back up to over 1,000 concurrent players after the PUBG event went live. So yay, a successful collab for once. Even though Payday 3 received basically nothing in return outside of a few cosmetics. While I do think that this was a little bit of a waste of resources for Starbreeze, I also think that in a hypothetical timeline where none of this was ever even considered, the company and its games wouldn't be off much better. If anything, the worst part about this event is the fact that it's time limited. That kinda fucking sucks. So make sure to at least try it out in the 1 month that it's available for, and let me know in the comments what you think about it. Especially if you haven't played Payday 3 before. I am super curious. As usual, Discord link is in the description if you want to steal unfunny memes. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And as always, stay floral.